That's ISO.
Rack it up, I got a bit of the bank to make me a safe house. Shake it up, she got her hands on her knees and she bringing the cake out. Smoke it up, I got some gas, some packs, I'm up in the greenhouse. Ball it up, I'm with the gang, we taking shots off the rebound. Fucking my post to say now, I've been humble too long, yeah, tell them all to stay calm.
Hey guys, welcome to Wealth on the Rocks, another episode here. We got the pleasure of having this incredible man right here, Wendell Moon. Brand strategy. What do you say? Brand strategist. Brand strategist. Eyebrow raiser. You
That's
said.
Right. Chief eyebrow raiser.
Eyebrow raiser.
That's what's
welcome.
on my business card.
That's amazing. Well, welcome. Happy to have you here,
Thank
man.
you.
Tell us all about you, man. Who are you? Who is Wendell Moon? Besides the coolest name ever.
Oh, thank you. It's not a stage name either. It's the real deal.
Nice.
Wendell actually has two meanings. David, it means adventurer, but it also means wandering poet.
Okay.
Both are on brand and appropriate, I would
amazing.
say.
Yeah.
Who is Wendell Moon? I'm a father of 3 boys.
Nice.
I've got a 4-year-old son and twin boys that are 2, and so
Nice.
life is just crazy.
I bet.
I'm married to an amazing human being, a fiery redhead that keeps me in check and holds my feet to the fire, but also
Nice.
just keeps me grounded.
That's awesome.
For guys like us, people that are very entrepreneurial, we tend to think about future. We see into the future. We think about big ideas, and sometimes we forget about what is here and
The
now.
present. Yeah. A little bit. Yeah.
And so I'm grateful to have a partner that brings me into the present. It's really important.
That's amazing. I love that. And we're drinking some amazing stuff today. Nashville Barrel Company, for those of you that may not be local to the Nashville area, they're an incredible brand. They make amazing bourbon.
It looks amazing.
Yeah. And these are some of the older bottles. They like to do little picks, and this one it's called Holy Grail. So it's a 7-year-old. It's a 108 proof.
Ooh.
And it's
108.
108.
It's about to get smoky up in here.
Ooh,
Well,
get 'em.
thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you for being here. And
I'm pumped to be here.
dude, cheers. Put this back there. Let's try this out. Ooh, it smells great. That's amazing. Well, very well.
I love this. These are your glasses here?
Yeah, so I had funny story about the glasses. I had a hot sauce company that we started a few years ago and got these glasses made, Lechosa's hot sauce. We ended up selling the company, but had a lot of fun along the way. And
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing.
It was such
You
a
had
good
a hot
adventure.
sauce company.
Yep. Such a fun adventure. You into spicy food? You like it?
Oh, yeah. Love it.
Maybe not the aftermath?
Yeah. Not so much. Sometimes it hurts twice, but
Yeah.
it's twice as nice. Let's be honest.
Well, that's me, dude. I'm so happy you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so brand strategy.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? What do you do? Dude, tell me all about it.
What do I do? I really think of myself as a sculptor in a lot of ways. What I do for businesses, for brands, for executives, for enterprises is very similar to that of a sculptor. There's this guy, Gutzon Borglum, who was the visionary behind Mount Rushmore.
That sounds very like Swedish or like Norwegian or somewhere.
And so I think he was, German.
Maybe.
But you'll have to check me on that. But he said that the faces are already in the mountain. My job is to bring them out.
Okay. Nice.
And I love that.
Yeah.
And I think about that anytime I have the privilege and honor of approaching a brand.
Okay.
When I approach a brand, I don't approach it as a graphic
Okay.
or a logo. those are important marketing assets.
Sure.
Those are brand assets. You should have a mark, you should have a logo, there should be a look and a color palette and fonts, and all of those things are great, but those are not your brand.
Right.
Your brand is an experience that people have.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
So you showed us the bottle here.
Right.
Beautiful bottle. I think it's well put together. Interesting looking bottle, but still practical.
Sure.
This one.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a brand experience. We just looked at the bottle.
Sure.
Then you poured it out, and we
Yep. Share some
cheers.
glasses. Yeah.
And then we tasted, and then we saw. Taste and see.
That's right. Yeah.
But it was when we actually consumed that, and we had a shared human experience. We really, what we had together was a brand experience.
I love that. Yeah. I feel like, especially with bourbon, there's one of the things too, there's kind of different sides of the coin. I feel like in the bourbon world, I don't know how much you know about it, but there's people that are very like collector heavy. They wake up at, old dark 30 and they wait for the craziest bourbons and everything like that. And it's a big business. I mean, people make a lot of money doing these things, but I am particularly of the school of thought of bourbon is meant to be shared, and no nice, all the nice stuff that you keep dust on the shelf it does nobody no good. So bring out the pappies. Come on, let's get it up there.
Well, I also would say that it increases in value when it's shared.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I was in this Turkish rug factory, in Turkey, some years ago.
Okay.
It was a part of this Mediterranean trip that my parents took me on.
Yeah.
And my younger brother. It was a trip of a lifetime. And Turkey was it was my favorite spot.
Yeah.
The people were incredible. The food was amazing.
Yeah.
Went to, we visited some of the most beautiful places. Ephesus was one of them.
Nice.
Fascinating
Yeah.
to go up and down the streets. But we went to this rug factory, and it was there that we learned that the more you walk on a rug, the more it actually increases in value.
Interesting. How so?
Because the idea of you put it on the wall and you marvel at it as some sort of piece of art, that's not what is going to give the rug value.
Interesting.
When you use it, when you actually have an experience with it, this comes back to brand.
Yeah.
What we're talking about with a brand experience, when we actually use it and interact with it, that's when it becomes meaningful.
Yeah.
That's what gives it value.
Yeah, like this rug is like the king of whatever walked in this rug kind of thing, right? But it could be like So if you're an entrepreneur, how do you craft that with that experience, and this could be a longer topic, but how do you help somebody craft the experience that the customer is going to experience when they look at their brand? So
let's say we were talking about your hot sauce.
Sure.
Okay. And recognizing you sold the company, so you did a really, really great job.
Thank you.
Let's say we had conversations many years ago when you were just coming up with the idea, and I'd sit with you and I'd ask you a series of questions, and we'd kind of be in this format. It wouldn't be a podcast recording session, but we might have a drink, or we might have a coffee, or might have a meal, and I would just ask you 1,000 questions about who you are.
Okay.
And I'd get to know you before the product.
Okay.
Why? Why would I get to know you before learning anything about hot sauce?
Sure. I mean, it's the driving factor, right? It's the driving force behind everything.
People, and yes, you have a book by Simon Sinek on your shelf, and I love Simon Sinek. And,
yep.
He said it beautifully. People don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And I think that the way that we can build the bridge to the why is when we help people understand who we are.
Yeah.
And that's why a brand experience is so helpful, is because it really forces us to get really clear about who we are.
I love
as
that,
people.
yeah.
And so, you asked me a great question, earlier, like who is Wendell? And I'm not what I do.
Right.
That's part of it.
Sure.
But, I have, the mind of an entrepreneur, and I have a very, business mind. I have the mouth of a creative and a connector.
Yeah.
And I have the heart of a coach.
Nice.
And so my thing every day is, how can I bring all these things into
together.
alignment?
Right.
So that I can make the world a better place for my family, for myself, for my community, and for this world.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And one of the things you said about, the whenever people look at their brand, I think about too, like some of the big brands in the world, right? Like your Facebooks and Amazons and all that kind of stuff. They all started with like a tiny small vision, if that makes sense, right? Like that's probably what you help with too, right? Like crafting the vision and figuring out
where do you want to go.
Yeah, where are we going?
Where have you come from? Where are you going? Right? That's
Where are you
huge.
going? Cotton Eye Joe.
That's right. That's right. Yes, 100%. There's a lot of truth there, because we have to understand. When we approach a brand, and we really look to innovate brand experiences for companies, right, and for brands and for executives, and so we really want to help people get real clear on their vision, their story, and their strategy.
I love that.
And then the fourth leg to the table there is team. Okay, because without the right team, without the right network, without the right people, no one's going to care about your vision.
Right.
No one's going to listen to your story.
Yeah.
And no one's going to give a rat's behind about your strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because
absolutely.
You have to surround yourself with really, really good people.
Yeah.
And so those are the four pillars. Those are the four legs. We have to dial those things in if the brand is going to actually make a difference in people's lives.
I love that. And when it comes to teams too, I love you mentioned Simon Sinek. I love some of the things that he writes. And looking at like the team and why the company or the team members stand behind the mission and the brand, like you can tell like there's certain brands and certain companies where like the people that work there are just diehard, cultured. The brand is like in him, right? Like it's something that's it's hard to achieve in the corporate world. I feel like a lot of people just kind of bounce around and in different work environments and things like that, right? But how do you create that sort of like, I'm a diehard Google guy, I'm taking naps on a pod and you know what I mean, like that kind of that's the dream, right? Like for your brand to like, you have, first of all, your customers, they need to be aligned with what you're doing and your vision. And I'm a big believer that people don't follow you for where you are, but they follow you for where you're going. So crafting a big vision of your brand and something that's going to resonate with your customers first, but then also, obviously, you can't just be a one-man show forever. So if you have a team of individuals that are pushing behind the brand and helping you grow, like that has to be a number one priority, right?
Well, I think if the dream that you have is only something that you can realize, then I think you should find a bigger dream.
Right. Absolutely.
And not to question anyone that writes poetry for themselves or creates beautiful pieces of art or music for themselves, like that's amazing. But when it becomes something meaningful is when we share it.
Okay.
In terms of a brand.
Sure.
Right? That's when it becomes meaningful, when it actually touches a person and then that person shares it with another person.
Yeah.
It's one thing to get a bourbon at the store and have it yourself.
Sure.
When it really truly becomes a special brand experience is when you start sharing it with others.
Right. Absolutely.
And so we have to assess, and we have to ask these questions. Sometimes we're privileged to be able to work with companies that have been around for several decades and are very well established, and they've done really well.
Yeah.
And we come in, we do an audit. I prefer the term assessment, but it's the same thing as an audit, to sort of ask these questions of what's worked well, what hasn't. But we do this by asking people questions and listening to them.
So what kind of questions, for somebody listening, like, all right, I don't know anything about branding. I mean, I want to brand myself, my company, maybe some business owners. What do you say to people like, hey, these are some of the questions that you should ask yourself in order to sort of craft the brand, the vision, the who it is, the who, the what, and the where, right?
Start with yourself. Start with why you care about it. Why is this something that gets you out of bed in the morning?
Okay.
Right? Why do you continue to work on it? Why are you giving this any bit of your time and attention?
Right.
Okay. Let's say you've been working on it for several years and you're not experiencing the success that you think you should have.
Right.
Why do you continue to work at it?
Yeah.
Well, it's because you're passionate about it. Why are you passionate about it?
Yeah.
Right. What was and really get to this. Get to the inciting incident. Get to the conversation. Get to the show that you watched, the book that you read, the experience that you had with another person that propelled you forward, that moved this forward. What was that? Identify that, write it down.
Yeah.
Okay? And then identify what are some of the things that you did to move this forward.
Right.
Okay? And then you want to start to ask some questions around, okay, what type of experience do I want people to have when they taste this product or when they see the product or when they watch some media in social or on the TV? Like, what type of experience do you want them to have? What do you want them to feel?
Right.
What do you want them to see? What do you want them to say?
Right.
And so you start with just some of those very simple questions.
Yeah.
And then I think you'll be able to identify really what people need and how you are responding to that need.
I love that. Now, do you think the people behind Cocomelon are sitting down thinking, I want these kids to feel like zombies, that's the brand? No, I'm kidding,
one can only hope. We actually have
like,
banned Cocomelon in our house, David. No, I'm serious. Our kids, we'll see it, right, on Netflix. Oh, Cocomelon. We're like, what?
Zombies.
What is that? Oh, no, I think you were referring to this other show that we're going to turn on.
Sure.
This Planet Earth. That's what you were asking to watch.
Yes.
No, I hear you. Were they thinking that? Who knows? If I ever meet them, I don't know if I want to congratulate them or ask them if everything is okay at home.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
But there's some smart people too. Like, us being both fathers. I have a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old baby, and we look at some of those shows. Obviously, like now we're getting to like Miss Rachel and like some of these other. You know what I mean? Like some of those people. Like it's incredible the branding behind all of that. Like Blippi and like all those things. It's genius. It's absolutely amazing. Like people think is like, oh yeah, they're making videos or whatever, but it's like, dude, there's so much brilliance and so much thinking that goes behind all of that, right?
100%. 100%. It's memorable. It's very simple. You'll notice that really successful brands are not trying to be brilliant.
Right.
The brilliance is that they're not.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, so when we work with a brand and they are saying, you know what, all of this just seems so vanilla and so elementary and social media, right, idiots are consuming it. It's like, do you want to have a successful business?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it's all good if you don't.
Yeah.
But if you do, you're going to need to connect with where your people are hanging out.
Absolutely.
It is quite possible that your audience is not hanging out there.
Yeah.
Well,
how do you figure out, like, what are some of those avenues, right?
Well, we have to look at the data. If you're a startup and you're still trying to test your market.
Right.
So we got to look at the data. We got to see what's worked well. We got to look at some of the metrics. We make data informed decisions when we approach a brand. A lot of people, when they hear, oh, you work in branding, wow, like you sort of throw Jell-O against the wall and see what sticks, right? That is something that I think some people do, and good for them. I think you have to take risks and you have to try things, but you can make data informed decisions. But the data that we look at is we look at stories. Yeah. We look at narratives. We look at what people have experienced. Yeah. We want to look at not what did you do? What did your brand do for a customer? What did your brand do for that customer to return with another customer?
I love that. Yeah.
That's what we look at.
Yeah.
And it's quite possible. I mean, I've sat with business owners like this, and I've said, don't be on social media.
Right.
I've said this.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we have to be on social media. And I said, no, you need to figure out what your product is.
Right.
You need to figure out who your customer is. Like, you got to figure out some of these simple things. You got to be off social media and go sit with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And listen to them.
Yeah.
And then curate a series of stories.
Yeah.
Set something up like this, David, right? Start inviting people in and start talking with the world about what it is that you have to offer.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we do have, on our business, we have something similar too. We call it Crusade Moments. So even just for within our team members, all the success stories that we're having throughout, like, the week or whatever, there's always these crusade moments of how we're helping people and things like that. And so I feel like it's a great thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. People need those types of moments that jar them out of noise, that jar them out of various thoughts that are jostling, and really pull us into the present. We talked about that at the beginning. I have a partner that brings me into the present. It's just amazing how she does that, and just kind of helps me, just be here now, right? And that's super important. And for a brand to make that successful connection, they have to be here now.
Absolutely. And speaking of now, it's 2024. Everybody, it's crazy. This year I feel like it's flown by.
It's amazing.
For going into the future, right? Like, I know you have a lot of really cool projects lined up. You got a book that you're writing, right?
Yep.
You've been a speaker at different places. Dude, tell us all about that. What's all the future looks like ahead?
Oh my word. It's crazy to think about this, David. I've been speaking in front of audiences for almost 3 decades.
That's incredible.
So I started.
And you're only 25?
And
my goodness, that's crazy.
Tomorrow I turned 25. I'm kidding. I just turned 21. Thanks for the bourbon. Salud. Just shy of 3 decades, been speaking in front of audiences. I fell in love with storytelling at an early age. I love stories. I love developing people, and I love developing stories.
Nice.
And I think that what I get to do now is I get to bring these things together, which is great fun. So lots of exciting things this year, coming off of an amazing 2023. I'm just still kind of in awe that I was selected as a speaker for TEDx Old Hickory.
Come on,
this past year.
That's incredible.
Congrats,
it was
thank you. I'm still just in awe and wowed by the experience, and
we'll put the link in there so that people can watch that. Yeah,
that would be
that's great.
Awesome, and I would be honored if people would go watch it, because the whole thing is about the importance of human-centered brand experience, and that a really important brand experience brings people in, it brings them up, and it sends them out.
Yeah.
And so it's important to bring people in, trust. Come on in. The water is fine. The liquid is fine. We want you to be here. We care about you. Like, this is super important. We want to be seen that way, eye level, eye to eye. We're not looking up. We're not looking down, right? We're connected this way. And we bring people up by changing the way they think. All right, giving them a new lens, right? Giving them a new perspective, changing the way they look at the world.
Sure.
Right, and a lot of times that happens because of an attitude shift. So I brought you in, I helped change your attitude. Now I can bring you up so you can be at a different altitude to look out, consider the world differently, send people out with a renewed sense of self, a renewed vision, renewed confidence, renewed clarity. And that's what a brand does. It brings people in, brings them up, and sends them out. And I was just honored to be able to give the TEDx. And this amazing thing happened, David. I haven't actually shared this in a public forum yet, but in mid-talk...
We'll keep it in the download.
In mid-talk, I had an out-of-body experience.
Wow.
Where the room, which was very packed with people, suddenly everyone left. And I was now watching myself give the talk. And then my dad, who passed away.
Ooh, I'm getting chills.
Who passed away, I was about to say last year, but now 2 years ago. But when I was giving the talk, it was just right up to the 1-year anniversary of his passing.
Wow.
And he was in the room, and he was sitting, and he always wore Hawaiian shirts, and he really looked like Jimmy Buffett. I mean, really, he did. And so he's sitting there, and he's rocking back and forth, laughing like Yoda.
Wow.
Just like cackling. And he gave me the thumbs up, as he's laughing. And this transformational peace just came over me. And I re-entered my body, and I gave the rest of the talk, and all of this emotion came up. So when if you watch it, you'll see some emotion happen for me. But it was so cool to have such a profound and real experience with someone that really just meant the world to me.
Yeah.
And though he had passed, it's amazing how the memory of him is so live and present.
That's amazing.
And so as I'm talking about it, I'm reliving it.
Yeah.
And I think that it was so appropriate that I would have that experience while talking about the importance of human-centered experience.
Yeah.
And whether, you want to call it a brand, you want to call it marketing, you want to call it a business, you want to call it whatever. At the end of the day, we're serving people.
Yeah.
Right? And they have experiences. How do you want people to talk about those experiences?
I love that. I feel like those, and thank you for sharing that and being vulnerable in that. But, I mean, even you're doing it right now, right? Like all through the storytelling and the reliving those experiences. That's what branding should be and what it's all about, right? Like how does your particular brand kind of have all those pieces all together and what's the story behind that? Sometimes, I mean, most people just have a product, right? And then that's it. This is my product, buy it, please, right? Mm-hmm. But incorporating some of those experiences and some of the stories, the success stories, I'm curious, when you've talked to some of these business owners, is that sort of a struggle to kind of find the story behind the product? Like what does that look like?
Sometimes the story it's really not associated with the product.
Really? Wow. Yeah. I
mean, a lot of times it really has nothing to do with the product. It has nothing to do with the software.
Right.
It has nothing to do with this this innovation that you're bringing into the world. A lot of times the story is more about the story of people, that what is happening in their world when they have an encounter with your product.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really understanding more about who those people are and the narrative that you're entering into. Yeah. Right? And so everyone has a movie that's playing. But there's so much story that's happening outside of the frame. Salman Rushdie said that the way we see the whole picture is by stepping outside of the frame. Yeah. Right? And so really encouraging brands and businesses and business owners and startups and established companies, right, to think outside of the frame. Yeah. And to consider, okay, so maybe we don't have that heart, pulls on your heartstrings kind of narrative about this product that we're bringing into the world. But what is a story that we can share that is real? Yeah. About the impact of this. Yeah. Right? So it's not so sexy about how this software came into existence. Right. But we can tell you the story about the families whose lives have been transformed because they started using that software that helped them bring order into their chaos. Yeah. right?
I love that.
That helped them think differently about their finances.
Yeah.
That helped them think differently about about how they have about education, about their care team, about these things. Like if we can start asking those questions, then we're not going to be so concerned about what are our marketing assets.
Yeah.
Right? It's what are people experiencing? How can we elevate that? That's what you're doing on this podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things too. Like in our line of industry, like we're, in finances, right, insurance, all of those kinds of things. It's not really sexy to talk about, right? It's not like, hey, if you die tomorrow, you probably should have something to protect you, right? Like those are the kind of conversations, and it's very deep, right? Like all those are very important things, but that's even something too, like an exercise. I mean, we can even probably work through a little exercise right now too, but of like, what does that look like beyond just helping families, right? Like I feel like for me and what we're trying to do, I feel like we're the biggest thing, coming, I don't know how much we've talked about this, but coming from Spain, moving here about 10 years ago, I grew up in a very we never had a need, but we were in a not great, like penny pinching, very like low middle, and so we survived. We didn't thrive, and so I'm thankful for my family and what they went through and how much they worked to get us where we are, and I'm so grateful to be here on the other side of the spectrum, to where like there's so much thriving and so much opportunity, right? And it's so different, but having that story and those experiences, right, the human experience, that sort of drives me to want to do something with that, right? And being able to give back in some way to the Spanish community. I haven't shared much about this, but I have plans of having a foundation, starting it's called Legado Foundation, and it's going to be helping individuals, immigrants specifically, right, to be able to provide financial education, to provide resources and help in the community. And so that's one of my driving forces on doing what I do. So getting involved in the community and helping individuals is such a big thing. But
I love that.
Yeah.
When you talk about those experiences from your past, they very much do influence the way that you approach the present.
Absolutely.
It influences the way that you engage with your customers, your clients, with people. And I would say that something that your upbringing did for you and those experiences did for you is it gave you this incredible amount of compassion, I would say. Yeah. And a lot of empathy for those that you're serving, that get very tense when it comes to money. Yeah. It's interesting because ultimately the tension that we're experiencing has nothing to do with the printed material that we hold in our hands.
Sure, yeah.
It doesn't even have anything to do with a number. It has everything to do with an experience that we associate with it.
Right. Wow.
That is why we feel the things that we feel. That is why we have triggers when we see things or when we smell things. So the thing about money, and I'm still learning about you, but I think that one of the things that you do to bring such exceptional value to people is you help remove that tension. By giving them a safe place for them to explore these ideas and these memories that are associated with something that makes them feel less than. You make people feel more than.
I try. It's a big thing, and depending on who you're talking to, right? Like that's a very touchy subject. So it's, I guess, part of the branding is being able to be on the other side of the coin of like, hey, I've come from really not a great place, and all I'm trying to do is to give back and try to help and being able to add value, like you said, right? And I mean that at the end of the day, I think that's what.
That's your brand voice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your brand voice.
Yeah, you were talking about that. Is that so before I forget about the book? Yeah. So you were So
the book that I'm working on, and the TEDx experience that I talked about just a little bit ago very much inspired me to finish a book that I've been thinking about for quite some time. I've been picking at for several years. And so the whole idea and the premise of this is overcoming the noise of your past to step into your authentic voice in the present.
Love it.
And I think that because there's unresolved noise and clutter from our past, things that have given us experiences that have given us limiting beliefs around what type of voice that we have.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had one experience in that one class, let's say it was choir.
Sure.
And the teacher, right, the director said, no, David, no, your voice is horrible. Like, we need to listen to, or
they probably would say that, honestly. They probably would. I'd be like, yeah, you're right, actually.
If it was me, it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I tried.
I mean, and I played the piano, actually, so it's like, you stop singing, go on the keys, right?
Yep.
But we hold on to these words and the energy of it and how it made us feel. Like that makes us, it puts people in such a vulnerable place, right? But if we don't deal with that, we don't work through that, it really does negatively impact the way that we connect with ourselves now and the way that we relate to people around us.
Yeah.
And the same is true for our professional enterprises and entities and these brands that we're coming up with now and how we're talking about what we're doing. So if we don't deal with this stuff, then it is going to negatively impact how we talk about what it is that we do. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, one of the things I feel like I'm a firm believer that, especially in the entrepreneurial space, a lot of people are held back by their own self-limiting beliefs, right? Like, I'm sure you probably know a lot of people that you've met that have tremendous potential, but they, in a way, they're just sort of like held back and scared of what that could look like. And even in the financial side of things, one of the things I see is like people are scared to make more money. And they're scared of what that could look like, or they have these limiting beliefs of their past experiences, right? Of like the negative association with what making more money means for them, and so they're sort of self-sabotaging themselves. That's it's a big thing. It's real. Yeah.
We really can be our own worst critic. We can be our worst boss.
Yeah.
We can be our own worst enemies. We can get in our own way.
Yeah.
And for years, I've done that. For years, I have really tried to take on a voice that I thought somebody else wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And I wasn't stepping into my real authentic voice.
Wow.
So when I stepped on that stage this last fall for TEDx Old Hickory, I really stepped into my voice for the first time.
It's incredible.
And so when I look back on it, and I've watched it through several times, I'm proud of that person.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that person. Whereas for years I would see myself and I would hear myself and I would feel really, really weird about it.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't actually being who I was. I wasn't expressing myself. I wrote 49 talks before I decided on the one that I was going to give for TEDx.
Wow.
And the 49 that I wrote prior, I wrote for someone else.
Wow.
I wrote it in the voice of someone that I thought someone wanted me to be.
Wow.
And I think that is where we are missing opportunities to create these meaningful brand experiences, like for other people in real time.
Yeah.
As we're trying to be something that we're not designed to be.
Mm.
We're trying to do something that we think if I sit here and I say things that I think you want me to say,
it's not gonna work.
It's not gonna work out so well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And it's not gonna feel authentic. It's not gonna be genuine.
Yeah.
It's not going to land. It's not going to connect with people that are watching. But if we can really be who we are and we can step into that voice, we will be able to connect with everyone.
That is absolutely amazing. If you're not taking notes, rewatch the last like 30 seconds and take some notes. And that I'm so thankful, so honored to have you in here, man, and having this conversation with you. It's absolutely incredible, and how you can really help individuals find their authentic voice, their brand, what's behind what they're doing, is one of the most important things, right? Like, I heard you say you're not who you are, or you're not what you do, right? But it's the why behind it, right? And the purpose and the creating the impact. So it's absolutely amazing, and thank you for spending some time talking about that. Where can people find you? I mean, rolling the red carpet. What? Get connected with this man, please. Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on the social medias.
The social medias
on the Facebook. Those you could find me.
Do you have MSN?
Yeah.
Is that the top?
If you could send me a Yahoo or a Hotmail,
yeah, I might put you on my top 8. We're not aging ourselves or anything here, but anyway.
Mr. Wendell Moon on the socials. Rattle the Lamp is the name of our company. Rattle the Lamp, which is from a production term, "bump the lamp," that was coined by the creative team that helped Robert Zemeckis make Who Framed Roger Rabbit in the 80s. And so they had to do some crazy things to, facilitate the coming together of 2 different art forms on the big screen. So animated film and live action film. And so they referred to it as bumping the lamp. Wow. And so we take that approach to brands, and we say, hey, how can we make this better? How can we innovate the brand experience?
I love that. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And for everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this. What are some of your experiences in your branding, some of the challenges that you've experienced around finding that voice? I love it. Great conversation. I appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys. All right.
Cheers.